From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. Thrilled to be joined in studio by the one and only Steve Atwater. What up, Steve?
What's up, Ryan Edwards? Benjamin Allbright. What's going on? Word.
Well, Ben got a little extra sun. That is one word.
A little bit.
Notice that?
Yeah,
Yep.
but we can zoom in on that right now.
Yeah, well,
sunscreen. I'll use some tomorrow.
We'll do that. But again, you can tell you've been out watching practice.
But then work in.
Broncos.
Yeah, so that's why I did it. I need my practice tan so everybody knows I was watching practice.
Right. Broncos mandatory minicamp happened today. Steve, what are a couple of observations you had? Let's start with the quarterbacks. Everybody wants to talk about the quarterbacks. What did you think about the quarterbacks today?
Yeah, they both look good. If people are taking stock of, kind of keeping track of who's winning the days, I think Drew Lock probably had a little bit better day today. He hit some nice passes, some nice in-cutting routes. Hit who was it? I think the tight end down.
Andrew Beck.
Andrew Beck right there in the end zone there too. Drew Lock, he was feeling himself today.
He started out a little slow, though, and he looked like he was hesitating, kind of what we've been seeing all throughout OTAs, Ben. And it seemed like after the 7-on-7 period, he really kind of found his stride, especially when they got to team.
Yeah, it was almost like instinct kicked in. He quit overthinking it and got back into being Drew Lock or whatever, and he was kind of dealing today a little bit, I mean, it was good to see. It was good to see completing passes, no interceptions, no turnovers, nothing, no major mistakes as far as that kind of stuff goes. Was slinging the ball mostly on target. There were a couple little high, but I didn't have any real gripes too much today with he didn't not missing open guys, any of that kind of stuff. So it was nice to see out of Drew Lock, and hopefully he can carry that momentum forward.
It seemed like they had an interesting focus today because it was a little bit of the back and forth. They did a little bit of the skeleton, and then they went to the team. But we had brought up a while back, Steve, about how Drew Lock might be a guy that needs to practice team a little bit more because he works so well on the run. And you saw him do some of those half boots. They were getting him on the run and moving. It seems as though that's where he actually can win this competition, as though he gets to show almost real game action during practice.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some good things, and I've seen some not so good things when he's been on the run too. So I wouldn't necessarily make a blanket statement like that. And again, this is first day of OTAs, mandatory OTAs. But I am hoping that he can continue on the path that he's going down right now, because today was a good start for him.
What about Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah, Teddy did pretty good today too. He had a couple of hiccups here and there, but he still had a pretty solid day. And again, it's early, man. Hey, one practice doesn't make any player. And, I've seen guys come out and have great practice, and then, 3 or 4 days later, it's like, is this the same guy that did that? And I've seen other guys who, just start a little slower, and then, by the end of the camp, you're like, this guy's a player. So, it's early on now, but, I feel positive about that quarterback room. What
about guys that start bad and also stay bad? Is there hope for us?
Yeah, well, hey, that happens sometimes too, and those guys don't last long.
Don't be reasonable with this guy.
No,
I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying.
He's not taking it. See, that's a savvy veteran.
I'm saying there are football players like that too, though. That hey, they start off bad and they just never get that momentum. You see them without the pads on, they're slow, and then guess what? You put on the pads, they still slow.
What if they're without the pads and they're running a race and they start off slow and they also finish slow?
Damn. It's over.
No, Teddy. I thought Teddy looked okay. Teddy is what we thought Teddy was today. He's making safe throws just about everywhere. The one, I think he only had a couple of deep shots, and one of them, it was a disconnect. He didn't read that the option route the same way that the receiver. I think it was Hinton sat down in the zone, which was the correct read, and Teddy had him going out and up, and through the out and up. There was nobody there.
How you know correct read?
What's that? Because I know where the safety position was, and I know where the corner position was.
Come on, man.
Well, get inside leverage on the corner and the safety over the top. You're not going to take the outside right there, especially if you got inside leverage like that. You come back for the ball.
Well, in that moment, it looked pretty clear it was an option route because of where Teddy placed the ball, which was on the outside. Hinton sat down underneath, so the ball just sailed right past him. Mm-hmm. It seems to be a situation, especially when you know where the safety is at that point.
It looked like the correct read as he had the correct position.
Okay, all right. There we go.
No. This is for small breakdowns.
Things
we notice when we're out there.
Oh, that's good.
But I tell you what, and I want to get to this on the other side. I want to talk about the philosophical changes that you would have at the different quarterbacks. But I thought Teddy Bridgewater checking down, I don't think it's as exciting as some people would like to see, but at the same time, it can be pretty efficient. But the thing about it, and this is what I want to know from your side, on the defensive side, if you know a guy has the instincts to do something like that, is that something that you eventually as a defense, you start to bite up a little bit? You start to say, well, that we're going to take that away from you and see what you can do.
Yeah, and it's frustrating for defenses when a quarterback comes out and does that. He nickels and dimes you on down the field, and then as soon as you bite up, guess what? There's somebody right behind you. And you know if you're playing zone coverage, if you bite up on a 5-yard route, it's somebody behind you. But hey, that's how they get you though. By throwing those short routes, being patient, and that's what I would like to see Drew Lock do more of. Is hey, get these guys to bite up, get them to bite up. Then it's going to open up everything for you. Mm-hmm. Everything opens up once you get the team to thinking that that's the only thing you're going to do is throw the shorter routes.
I felt like about midway through the practice, he started kind of taking what they were giving him with some of those little short stuff, and then kind of that's what got him into a rhythm and got him going. And maybe the Broncos need to script that. Maybe they need to script him something where he's getting himself into a rhythm with like taking the short stuff and kind of getting the processor working and going from there.
See, the only thing is like early on in the game, if a defender decides, all right, I'm gonna jump this short route, then you got to be ready to throw that intermediate route too. So he's got to get to where he's actually reading the defenses, reading what the players are doing, and reacting off of them. And the great quarterbacks do it. They'll think they'll have you thinking that they're going to throw it short, and as soon as you bite up, they're going behind you. And as soon as you stay back, they're throwing it short. You're never right.
But you said something about scripting, because Rich Scangarello was fantastic at scripting early on, and Drew Lock looked pretty good like that.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. It was interesting to watch back then because Drew was great on the script, and Rich was great on the script, and Rich was not great off the script. And Pat Shurmur's kind of been the opposite. The scripted plays for the Broncos, they've started slow, haven't been great. But after they get off that script, then they start playing a little bit better. So maybe those two guys can have their own Passers Summit. Get together and make it work, huh?
I love that. Up, huh? When we come back, we're going to talk about a philosophical difference between the two quarterbacks in the red zone. We'll get to that next.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
All right, welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Steve Atwater, kind enough to stick around for another segment. Let's talk.
Man, y'all tied me up, man. Y'all made me do it.
Right, how much was that check you wrote him?
I know. Let's talk about the philosophical difference between the two quarterbacks, and we saw it on display here, mandatory minicamp. And it's a change maybe even for the offensive coordinator, depending on who he has out there. With Drew Lock, you saw they got down in the red zone. He's firing bullets into the end zone. He's going after it. Teddy Bridgewater, maybe he just throws it away. He's not going to risk the 3 points. Now, we may say that tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, how many times we get there with Drew Lock last year or before where it's like, man, you can't take a sack there. You can't throw an interception there. You can't make a mistake there. You lost guaranteed 3 points. So it seems to be a little bit of a philosophical difference between the two quarterbacks, if you ask me.
Yeah, it does seem like Drew Lock is, a lot more aggressive. He's going for the score. He wants to get a touchdown out of the situation. And then Teddy, either the guys were just blanketed or whatever, but he wasn't throwing an interception.
I take that even a step further, and I would say that Drew's philosophy is I'm looking deep first, and then I'm coming back down. It's almost like a high-low, I'm looking deep, and then I'm coming back down. Teddy Bridgewater's is a lot different. It's like I'm getting the ball out in a certain amount of time because I'm not taking a sack, and oh, by the way, I'm looking for the quickest guy that's open that I can get it to. And it's just like get rid of it, get it quick, get what they give you, and keep matriculating. I hate that word, down the field. So it feels like Alex Smith or Colt McCoy out there with Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not saying Teddy's not better than them, but philosophically, it feels kind of the same process and mentality if you ever watch those two quarterbacks play. And then on the other side, you got Drew Lock, which feels more like Jay Cutler out there, a little more YOLO ball. And
that's exciting, though. I mean, for the fans want to see the ball down the field. When we were in training camp last year and we saw Drew Lock putting that ball on the money down the field, man, that's exciting. You're moving the ball, but then that one mistake, and then you come away with nothing. That's. But
you just think about it from the perspective of the team, right? What fits this team right now? Do you need the guy that has I'm going to be hunting, I'm going to be going after, trying to create plays to get touchdowns?
At times we are.
But Teddy Bridgewater, right, might be the other side of it. It's like, well, look, if I can say out of these 7 drives the Broncos are going to go on, they're going to get field goals on better than 80% of those drives.
Yeah, I mean, if we won the game, that would feel okay.
Well,
but
with this defense,
but the players and the coach, they want to score touchdowns. The fans want to see touchdowns. They'll look at it like
the fans
a bunch
want
of
wins.
They want touchdowns too.
They want touchdowns kind of help with wins, but if you have a very good defense and you're eating the clock, like you're moving well between the 20s, you give yourself, you're not going to make mistakes in the red zone. It's boring, but it could win. And that's where I think the philosophical conversation about what you're getting out of each of these quarterbacks and what you'll have to design if you're Pat Shurmur, depending on who's out there.
Well, I guess we'll have to make it to where we can be a double threat when we're in the red zone. We got to be able to run the ball too, and that'll open everything up. Once we can pound that ball too, it opens up all options. We hand the ball off to him. We can pass it to him. We got Mike Boone. We got Royce Freeman. We got a ton of weapons, and if we utilize those weapons along with the quarterbacks, I think it's going to be a good thing. But, yeah, we're focusing on quarterbacks right now.
Yeah, as I said, we didn't even talk about Royce Freeman. So
I know Royce had a couple of nice catches out there today too, didn't he?
He did.
What is happening right now? Did you say Royce Tay? All right.
I'm an idiot.
Ben, what do you think about all of that? I mean, as far as the philosophical change that even Pat Shurmur will have to make depending on who his quarterback is.
Well, most of Pat's offense runs the intermediate game, and Teddy likes to go short. So that either one of these quarterbacks presents a problem. If you got Drew Lock, who can't be efficient and can't stop turning over, and you got Teddy, who won't press the ball a little bit because Pat needs big gains on first down in order to make that offense work. Because then they're going to run it on second if they don't get that gain and figure it out on third. So, like, you have either way, there's a deficiency there. And anything short of Aaron Rodgers that can press every area of the field and not turn it over is, going to come with drawbacks. And you've just got to figure out a way to play to the strengths of whichever guy is ultimately the single caller.
Yeah, but I think we saw in one of the OTAs earlier that Teddy Bridgewater did. He pushed the ball down on the field sometime.
Yeah, they scripted it up, and they had him throwing down the field in those OTA days. So I'd like to see some more of that. I'd like to see them script it up where he's having to dial it up and throw it deep, and put him in those situations and see what he does. Well,
but that's something that we're going to probably see throughout the course of training camp, different days where those guys are asked to do things that are maybe a little bit uncomfortable. And that's how you get a chance to really analyze them.
Oh, and that's how coaches do you in training camp, too. They'll tell the defense, they'll be in meetings with the defensive coaches the night before, like, hey, you guys jump these routes early on. Mm-hmm. So guess what? Those routes aren't open now. You got to throw the intermediate pass, and we'll be able to see, will he do it, willingly? Mm-hmm. Will he eat a sack or, And I don't think he will. I think he'll take those passes. We heard in the press conference today, he likes taking what the defense gives him. You give me a short route, that's what I'm going to take. Give me an intermediate route, that's what I'm going to take.
But the thing about that, and again, we're talking about eating the clock, playing to the strengths of your defense, the strengths of the team. You're also talking about not putting yourself in negative situations, especially early on in the drive. And that has been a problem for this team for years now.
It's been a huge issue.
Yeah, and that plays to Teddy's strengths, not doing that. The one thing I question is maybe Teddy's clock's a little too fast because it feels like he gets rid of it just a little too quickly instead of letting some of this stuff develop. And I went back and looked, and he's played with some pretty bad offensive lines. That line in Minnesota was terrible. That line with the Jets was awful. Carolina's line wasn't great. The only good line he's had his entire career was in New Orleans, briefly. So I'm wondering if bad offensive line play has kind of sped his clock up a little too fast.
I don't know. I don't know if it's too fast. Sometimes in pass skeleton, cornerbacks jump routes, and then the only thing left is that outlet receiver. But on the other side of that, we also say when Drew Lock, when he holds the ball, because all the guys are covered, we get frustrated about that.
Absolutely.
I mean, what do we want?
That perfect medium. That's what we want. If those two guys, if we could just merge the two quarterbacks, then we'd have a heck of a thing.
It'd be a lot of fun. All right, when we come back, who is the X factor for the offense? Steve Atwater is going to tell us next.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. Here are Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome back to Broncos Country Tonight. We're talking about the Broncos offense, especially as we've seen it out here at mandatory minicamp, and we're going to talk about the X factor for the offense. Did you know, Steve Atwater, that Melvin Gordon last year had the fewest amount of receptions he's had in a year since he was a pro?
I wonder why that was.
Well, I think part of it was a little bit of the design to try to get the ball deep. I think a lot of it was the team maybe playing from behind at times. But I'd like to see, regardless of who the quarterback is, I'd like to see a heavier emphasis on passing to the running backs out of the backfield, specifically when you take into account Melvin Gordon has shown the ability to be one of the most dangerous guys out of the backfield. And remember, he was talking about Phillip Rivers in the offseason and how Phillip Rivers would say, I already know the matchup, so as soon as you get out there, just look back at me, and I'm going to get you the ball.
Wow.
So as far as I'm concerned, the running backs out of the backfield, more specifically Melvin Gordon, is one of the biggest X factors this season.
I agree with that. And, especially if he's matched up with a linebacker. And, most of the time he will be matched up with the linebacker because, I don't think another guy who can, tackle him and can run with him, nobody else can really handle that. Now if there's a safety on him, depends on who the safety is. Some safeties don't cover very well. Others cover very well. So, that would be nice to see. I like to see him take advantage of some of those mismatches. But, hey, the quarterback has to see it. They got to understand the offense well, and that's what these guys are out here doing now, trying to get it to where, they can make those adjustments and get the ball to the right player.
This is why I think it works for either quarterback. Mm-hmm. Should be a design thing. And that's one of the things that we were just talking about, the philosophical differences between the two quarterbacks, especially in the red zone. This is something that both quarterbacks should actually be good at and should be utilized in the offense.
I think in different ways, yeah. I think you've got Teddy Bridgewater, if you're in red zone, taking what they give you, well, the windows are compressed. So naturally a bigger arm like Drew Lock that can zip it in there is going to be a tool so Teddy's got to have elite anticipation, something that he does have that good anticipation. So he's just got to be more anticipatory with his throws and not lollipop them over the middle, and wait for somebody to pick them off.
Come on, man. We talking about
pro quarterbacks here, right? Lollipops.
Wiffle balls. Would you rather? That's. So we're talking about X factors, though. My X factor wasn't even on the offensive side of the ball.
Ooh,
Draymond Jones.
Okay.
How many years has it been since Von Miller had somebody to play those pass rush games that wasn't Derek Wolfe out there? He's got to get used to somebody else out there that he's going to be playing with out there. So for me, that X factor is going to be Draymond Jones. His first year as a true starter on this defense. He was the guy Vic Fangio first drafted, banged the table for to bring in here. And he's going to have to develop that kind of same chemistry that Derek Wolfe and Von Miller used to have with Von Miller so that he's able to maximize both of them.
Will it be Draymond or will it be Shelby?
Well, Shelby will be on the other side. It'll be Shelby and Chubb if they line up the same way they did last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so Draymond would be playing those games. And you know what? He had more quarterback hits than any other pass rusher, I remember, if correctly, at Ohio State, that his final year there. So there's something to be said about just his instincts and his abilities there. I think that a healthy Von Miller along with Draymond Jones could be pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I like that. Again, Draymond Jones is, I think he has another level that he can hit. Mm-hmm. Coming off last year I thought he played well. I thought a couple of games he didn't play as strongly as I would have liked to see him play, but that's to be expected. He still was a relatively young guy, second year, and then going against those big offensive linemen, it's a learning experience, man, and hopefully he realizes how strong those guys are, how they're going to be coming off, and you got to be a nasty, you got to have a different mentality to play on that defensive line, and if he has that, and along with he and Von Miller working those games, it's going to be something special.
Who do you have as an X factor for the season?
Oh man, X factor. I'm gonna say Noah Fant, man. I'm gonna say Noah Fant. I always say that if Noah Fant can stay healthy, Noah Fant, he could have 1,000 yards, easily. And nobody can cover him. Who can cover him? Mm. And he can block. He's improved on his blocking. He's super fast. He knows the offense. He got great hands. So Noah Fant, man. Noah Fant for me.
And when he talked to the media a couple of weeks ago and he was talking about wanting to be a household name or top 5 guy, we sort of talked about, what does that mean for the offense? If Noah Fant is a top 5 tight end in the league, if he's putting 1,000 yards for this offense, how big a difference does that make?
Oh, it makes a huge difference because if the tight end's got 1,000 yards, guess what? The quarterback is doing something right. We're scoring a lot of points. Probably got a lot of touchdowns, too, because a lot of those passes are going to be in the red zone. And we're going to have a winning record, a winning season, and that's winning more games than we're losing. So definitely would be a positive thing.
Well, it's going to free up your receivers, too, because if you got a tight end that's doing that to you, then they're going to have to figure out some other way to cover you. What are they going to do? They're going to bring a corner in? Well, now all of a sudden they're light, so now you run on them. They're going to bring a safety. They're going to bracket you with linebacker and safety. Well, now you got a one-on-one somewhere because they bracketed you. So anytime you've got a tight end that's that productive, it's just going to make everybody else around you better.
And that's kind of what Cortland Sutton was in that final 5-game stretch with Drew Lock when he was out there with Rich Gangarello. He was getting the double teams. He was still finding some success, and it was freeing up other guys. And that was before you had Jerry Jeudy. That was before you had KJ Hamler. And Noah Fant was banged up at that time, but that's the thing is he's got to stay healthy. I think you hit that right on. And that's kind of what the design of this thing has been for years now. They've been building this young group of receivers to be complementary and help each other out. They just haven't had the consistent quarterback play. Some of that's on Drew. Some of that's on rolling out Brett Rippon and rolling out and Jeff Driscoll and all these different names.
Especially last year. I think the biggest thing last year were the injuries. The injuries just demolished us along the line. And then, with Jawan James, not playing the season. And then, Cortland getting hurt. Albert O and Noah Fant from time to time getting hurt. It was just way too many injuries. If we can stay healthy, man, we have such a loaded squad.
Yeah, so much talent out there. Steve, thanks for being in the studio, man.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.